The snow was falling in thick, determined flurries as Emma Parker pulled her ancient Toyota into the parking lot of the Grand Pine Hotel. She sat there for a moment, hands gripping the steering wheel, seriously considering just driving back home to her 7-year-old daughter and their tiny apartment above the bakery where she worked. "You promised yourself you'd try," she whispered to her reflection in the rearview mirror. The woman staring back at her looked tired, despite the effort she'd put into her appearance tonight. The burgundy dress she'd found at the thrift store was nice enough, even if it was a few seasons out of style. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple twist, and she'd even managed to put on mascara without Lily asking her a million questions about where Mommy was going. The Christmas blind date event had seemed like a harmless idea when her best friend Rachel had signed her up for it 3 weeks ago. A festive evening where single people could meet in a low-pressure environment, with the proceeds going to the local children's hospital. Rachel had insisted it would be good for her to get out, to remember she was more than just a mom and a baker's assistant. But now, sitting in the cold car, Emma felt every one of her 32 years and every rejection she'd endured in the past 5 years since Lily's father had walked out on them. She'd tried dating apps once, only to watch men's expressions change from interest to polite distance the moment she mentioned she had a daughter. She'd gone on 3 actual dates in those 5 years, and each one had ended with some variation of "you're great, but I'm just not ready for the whole kid thing." Emma checked her phone. She had 15 minutes before the event officially started. Lily had sent her a selfie from Rachel's house, where she was spending the night. Her daughter's gap-toothed grin and the reindeer antlers perched on her head made Emma smile despite her nerves. She was doing this for Lily too, in a way, to show her daughter that it was okay to hope, to take chances, to believe that good things could still happen. The hotel lobby was warm and decorated with an almost overwhelming amount of Christmas cheer. Garlands draping every surface, a massive tree in the corner twinkling with thousands of lights, and the scent of cinnamon and pine in the air. Emma checked in at the registration table, receiving a name tag with just her first name and a red ticket with the number 7 on it. "The speed dating portion starts in the Crystal Ballroom," the cheerful volunteer explained. 8 minutes per date, then you'll rotate. After that, there's a cocktail mixer for anyone who wants to continue conversations. Have fun." Emma made her way to the ballroom, where round tables were set up with numbers corresponding to the tickets. She found table 7 and sat down, smoothing her dress nervously. Around her, other women were settling in, most of them looking significantly more confident than she felt. The woman at table 6 was stunning, with perfect blonde waves and a designer dress that probably cost more than Emma made in a month. At table 8, a redhead in emerald green was touching up her lipstick with the ease of someone who did this sort of thing regularly. The men began filing in, and Emma's heart sank further. They all looked successful, polished, like they belonged in this elegant hotel with its crystal chandeliers and gilt-edged mirrors. What was she thinking? She was a single mom who lived paycheck to paycheck, whose idea of a fancy dinner was ordering pizza instead of making sandwiches. The first man to sit across from her was handsome enough, with dark hair and an easy smile. His name tag read Brian. "So, Emma," he started, his tone friendly, "tell me about yourself." "Well, I work at Morrison's Bakery downtown, and I have a daughter who's 7. Her name is Lily, and she's the light of my life. I love reading, baking obviously, and I'm trying to save up to take some pastry classes so I can maybe open my own place someday." She watched his expression shift, subtle but unmistakable. The smile became a little more fixed, a little less genuine. "A daughter," he repeated. "That's nice. How long have you been divorced?" "I'm not divorced. Her father left when I was pregnant." The 8 minutes couldn't pass fast enough. Brian spent the remaining time talking about his job in real estate development, barely asking her any more questions. When the bell rang, he gave her a polite nod and moved on with what looked distinctly like relief. The second date was worse. The man, whose name tag read Derek, actually stood up to leave the moment she mentioned Lily, mumbling something about having made a mistake and needing to use the restroom. He never came back to the rotation. By the 4th rejection, Emma felt tears pricking at her eyes. She'd perfected her story, trying to mention Lily in the most casual, least intimidating way possible, but it didn't matter. One man actually said, "I'm just not looking to be anyone's stepdad," as if she'd proposed marriage instead of simply answering his question about her life. The woman at table 6 kept getting roses, the signal that her dates wanted to see her again at the cocktail mixer. The redhead at table 8 was laughing with every man who sat down, clearly having the time of her life. And Emma sat at table 7, feeling smaller and more invisible with each passing rotation. She was seriously considering sneaking out during the break when she saw him walk in. He was tall, probably over 6 feet, with dark hair that was slightly too long to be conventionally corporate, curling a bit at his collar. He wore a charcoal suit that fit him perfectly, but he'd loosened his tie and unbuttoned the top button of his shirt, as if he too found the formality of the evening a bit much. There was something about the way he carried himself, a quiet confidence that didn't need to announce itself. He was also late, which meant the rotation was off. The coordinator rushed over to him, and Emma watched as they had a brief conversation. The man glanced around the room, and for just a moment, his eyes met hers. Then he nodded to the coordinator and made his way to the empty seat across from her. "I apologize for being late," he said, his voice deep and genuine.
I'm Alexander.
"My friends call me Alex." "Emma," she replied, trying to muster some enthusiasm. This would be her 8th rejection of the evening. Might as well get it over with. "This is my first time at one of these events," Alex admitted, and there was something almost sheepish in his expression. "My sister signed me up. Apparently, I work too much and need to get out more." "My best friend signed me up for the same reason," Emma found herself saying. "Apparently, I need to remember I'm more than just a mom." The words slipped out before she could stop them, before she could do her usual careful approach. She tensed, waiting for the familiar shift in his expression. But it didn't come. Instead, Alex leaned forward slightly, his gray eyes curious. "How old?" "What?" "Your child." "How old?" 7. "She's 7. Her name is Lily." "That's a great age," Alex said, and he actually smiled. "Old enough to have real conversations with, young enough to still believe in magic." "Does she still believe in Santa?" Emma blinked, thrown off balance by the genuine interest in his voice. "Yes, completely. She's already written 3 different letters to him, each one longer than the last." "What does she want for Christmas?" And just like that, Emma found herself talking. Really talking. She told him about Lily's obsession with astronomy, how she wanted a telescope so she could look at the stars. She told him about how Lily had read every book in the children's section of the library about space, and how she declared she was going to be the first person to walk on Mars. "She sounds remarkable," Alex said, and Emma could tell he meant it. "She is. She's everything." Emma paused, then added what she always added, the warning that sent men running. "Being her mom is my priority. It always will be." "As it should be," Alex replied without hesitation. "I'd be concerned about anyone who thought otherwise." The bell rang, signaling the end of their 8 minutes, and Emma felt a genuine pang of disappointment. For the first time all evening, she'd actually enjoyed herself. Alex stood, then hesitated. "Will you be staying for the cocktail mixer?" Emma looked down at her lap, where she'd placed the single rose she'd received. She'd gotten it during the 6th rotation, from a man who'd seemed nice enough until he'd explained that he'd chosen her because she seemed like she'd be grateful for the attention. She'd accepted the rose only because refusing it in front of everyone felt more embarrassing than keeping it. "I don't know," she said honestly. "This hasn't exactly been my best evening." "Then let me try to improve it," Alex said, and he placed a rose on the table in front of her. A real one, not the fabric roses they'd been given for the event. It was deep red, perfect, and must have come from one of the arrangements decorating the room. "I'd very much like to continue our conversation, if you're willing." Emma looked up at him, searching his face for any sign of pity or obligation. She found only sincerity and something else, something that made her heart beat a little faster. "Okay," she said softly. "I'll stay." The cocktail mixer was less structured than the speed dating portion, with people mingling freely in the adjacent lounge area. Emma found herself standing near one of the tall windows, looking out at the snow that was falling more heavily now, when Alex appeared at her elbow with 2 glasses of wine. "I wasn't sure what you liked, so I got the house red. I hope that's okay." "It's perfect, thank you." They stood there for a moment, watching the snow, a comfortable silence settling between them. "So what do you do?" Emma asked, then immediately wanted to kick herself. It was such a standard question, the kind that led to men explaining their important jobs and her feeling even more inadequate about her own situation. "I work in venture capital," Alex said. "My firm invests in tech startups, mostly focused on sustainable energy and environmental solutions." Emma nodded, having only the vaguest idea of what venture capital actually meant, except that it involved a lot of money. "It sounds impressive." "It's often just a lot of meetings and paperwork," Alex said with a slight smile. "What about you? You mentioned working at a bakery?" "Morrison's, downtown. I'm just an assistant, really. I prep ingredients, help with the early morning baking, cover the counter during busy times. But I love it. There's something almost meditative about baking, about following a recipe and watching simple ingredients transform into something delicious." "Just an assistant," Alex repeated, his tone thoughtful. "You say that as if it's something small, but you're creating food that probably makes people's days better. That's not insignificant." Before Emma could respond, a woman in a glittering gold dress approached them. She was beautiful in an intimidating way, all sharp angles and sharper smile. "Alex," she purred, completely ignoring Emma. "I didn't know you were coming tonight. Why didn't you sit at my table during the rotations?" "Hello, Victoria," Alex said, his tone polite but noticeably cooler. "I arrived late. The rotation had already started." Victoria finally glanced at Emma, her gaze sweeping over her in a way that made Emma acutely aware of every way her thrift store dress didn't measure up. "How nice," Victoria said, the words dripping with condescension. "Alex, you should come join our group. Marcus and Jennifer are here, and we're discussing the charity gala next month. I'm sure your friend here wouldn't mind." "Actually, I'm exactly where I want to be," Alex said firmly. "Enjoy your evening, Victoria." Victoria's smile tightened, but she took the dismissal, walking away with a final cold glance at Emma. "I'm sorry about that," Alex said once she was out of earshot. "Victoria and I traveled in the same social circles for a while. She's never quite forgiven me for not being interested in her professionally or personally." "She's very beautiful," Emma said quietly. "She's very aware of it," Alex replied. "Beauty without kindness is just decoration. I prefer substance." They talked for another hour, the conversation flowing easily. Emma learned that Alex had a younger sister named Sophie who was a marine biologist, that he'd lost his mother when he was 15, and that his father had built his company from nothing before passing it on to Alex 5 years ago. Alex learned about Emma's difficult childhood in foster care, about meeting Lily's father in college and believing they'd build a life together, about the devastating moment when she'd realized he'd meant it, when he said he didn't want to be a father. "I was 7 months pregnant when he left," Emma found herself confessing, the wine in Alex's easy manner loosening her tongue more than she'd intended. "He just packed a bag and left. Said he'd made a mistake, that he wasn't ready for this responsibility. I haven't heard from him since. No child support, no birthday cards, nothing. That must have been terrifying." "It was. But I had Rachel, my best friend. She moved in with me, helped me through the birth and those first impossible months. And then I looked at Lily's face, and I knew I'd do whatever it took to give her a good life. I'm not doing a very good job of it financially," Emma admitted. "We live in a small apartment, and there are months when I have to choose between buying her new shoes or paying the electric bill on time. But she's loved. She knows she's loved. That's the most important thing," Alex said quietly. "I grew up with every material advantage imaginable, but after my mother died, my father threw himself into work. He was never cruel, but he was absent. I would have traded all the money for more time with him." Emma noticed that it was getting late, that the crowd had thinned considerably. I should probably go. I need to pick up Lily in the morning, and I have an early shift at the bakery. Can I walk you to your car? Alex asked. They made their way through the hotel, and Emma was acutely aware of the picture they must make. Him in his expensive suit, her in her second-hand dress. The doorman smiled at Alex with clear recognition, and Emma wondered how often he stayed at places like this. In the parking lot, Emma led him to her elderly Toyota. It looked even more pathetic next to the luxury cars surrounding it, with its dented bumper and the duct tape holding on the side mirror. Thank you for this evening, Emma said, turning to face him. You made what could have been a horrible night into something really special. Emma, Alex said, and the way he said her name made her shiver despite her coat. Could I see you again? Maybe for dinner? Emma wanted to say yes. She wanted it more than she'd wanted anything in a long time. But reality crashed back over her, cold and unforgiving. Alex, you seem like an incredible person, but let's be honest. You live in a completely different world than I do. You stay at places like this hotel. I'm barely making rent. You have an impressive career. I'm an assistant baker with no college degree. And I have a daughter, which means any relationship isn't just about me. It's about her too. And I can't let her get attached to someone who's going to realize this is too complicated and walk away. You don't know that I'd walk away. Everyone does, Emma said softly. Everyone except Rachel. This was a nice fantasy, but it's just one evening. Let's leave it as a good memory. She got into her car before she could change her mind, before the tears that were threatening could fall. In her rearview mirror, she watched Alex standing in the snow, his hands in his pockets, watching her drive away. The weekend passed in a blur of Lily's chatter about her sleepover at Aunt Rachel's house and Emma's shift at the bakery. She told Rachel about the evening, about Alex, and about her decision to walk away. You're scared, Rachel said bluntly. I get it. But Emma, you deserve happiness too. You deserve someone who sees how amazing you are. He doesn't even know me, not really. We talked for a couple hours. That's not enough to base anything on. But Emma couldn't stop thinking about him. About the way he'd leaned forward with genuine interest when she talked about Lily. About how he'd stood up to Victoria without making a scene. About the way he'd really listened, to her stories about growing up in foster care without offering meaningless platitudes or pity. On Monday morning, Emma was in the back of Morrison's bakery, up to her elbows in flour, when Mr. Morrison called her to the front. Someone's here to see you, he said, his bushy eyebrows raised with curiosity. Emma wiped her hands on her apron and walked to the front, stopping short when she saw Alex standing at the counter. He looked slightly out of place among the early morning crowd of construction workers and nurses grabbing coffee and pastries before their shifts, but he didn't seem uncomfortable. He was studying the display case with genuine interest. Alex, what are you doing here? Having breakfast, he said, gesturing to the coffee and cinnamon roll on the counter, and hoping I might convince you to take a break and talk with me for a few minutes. Emma glanced at Mr. Morrison, who made a shooing gesture. Go on, Emma. It's slow right now. She poured herself a coffee and sat down at one of the small tables by the window, Alex joining her. How did you find me? Emma asked. You said you worked at Morrison's bakery downtown. There's only 1 inch. That's borderline stalking, Emma said, but there was no real heat in her words. That's determination, Alex corrected with a slight smile. Emma, I know you're scared. I'm scared too. I haven't done this in a long time, and I've never dated anyone with children. But I can't stop thinking about our conversation. About you. I'm not asking for forever. I'm asking for a chance. One dinner. If after that you still think we're too different, that it won't work, I'll respect that and leave you alone. Emma looked at him, at the sincerity in his eyes, and felt her carefully constructed walls beginning to crack. One dinner, she said finally. But it has to be somewhere normal. No fancy restaurants where I don't know which fork to use. Done, Alex said immediately. How about that Italian place on 5th Street?
Mama Rosa's.
Emma laughed despite herself. That's my favorite restaurant. How did you know? I didn't, But it's mine too. Their lasagna is incredible. They set the date for Wednesday evening, when Rachel could watch Lily. As Alex left, Mr. Morrison appeared at Emma's elbow. "That's a good man," the older man said thoughtfully. "I've seen a lot of people come through here, and you learn to read them." He didn't look around with judgment. He didn't treat you like you were less than him because you work here. And he sure didn't seem to mind that you're covered in flour. Wednesday couldn't come fast enough and yet came too soon. Emma changed outfits 5 times before settling on a simple navy dress that Rachel had lent her. Lily kept asking questions about where Mommy was going, and Emma finally told her the truth in age-appropriate terms. "I'm going to have dinner with a friend, a man I met at a party." "Like a date." Lily's eyes went wide. "Are you going to marry him?"
Sweetheart, no.
"It's just dinner. Just 2 people getting to know each other." "But maybe someday you will marry someone," Lily said thoughtfully. "And then I'd have a daddy." Emma's heart broke a little. They'd had conversations about Lily's father, carefully worded explanations about how sometimes people aren't ready to be parents. But that it didn't mean there was anything wrong with Lily. "Maybe someday," Emma said carefully. "But that's not something you need to worry about. You and me, we're a team, right? That's not going to change." Mama Rosa's was busy. The small restaurant filled with the sound of conversation and laughter. Alex was already there, sitting at a corner booth, and he stood when he saw her approaching. "You look beautiful," he said, and Emma felt herself blush. Dinner was easy in a way Emma hadn't expected. They talked about everything and nothing. Favorite books, worst jobs they'd ever had, places they wanted to travel. Alex told her about learning to surf in California during a college summer, and Emma told him about the time she'd accidentally used salt instead of sugar in a wedding cake and had to remake the entire thing in 4 hours. "Do you want children?" Emma asked at one point, the question slipping out before she could stop it. Alex was quiet for a moment. "Honestly, I never thought much about it when I was younger. I was too focused on work, on growing the company. But lately, especially since Sophie had her baby last year, I've been thinking about it more. I don't know if I'd be any good at it." "No one knows if they'll be good at it," Emma said. "You just do your best and hope you don't mess them up too badly." "You're doing more than that," Alex said. "From everything you've told me, Lily sounds like an amazing kid. That's because of you." "She is amazing. She's smart and curious and kind. I just wish I could give her more. When she talks about wanting to be an astronaut, I want to be able to afford those science camps or trips to the Space Center, or even just a decent telescope. I'm saving for one, but at the rate I'm going, she'll be in high school before I can afford it." "What if—" Alex started, then stopped. "What?" "I was going to offer to buy her one, but I don't want to overstep. We barely know each other." Emma felt a flutter of warmth in her chest, but she shook her head. "Thank you, but no. I need to be able to provide for my daughter myself." "I understand," Alex said, and he genuinely seemed to. After dinner, Alex walked her to her car again. The evening was cold, their breath fogging in the air, and Emma found herself not wanting the night to end. "Can I see you again?" Alex asked. "Yes," Emma said without hesitation this time. They fell into a pattern over the next few weeks. Dinner once or twice a week, coffee at the bakery when Alex could get away from work. They talked for hours, learning each other's rhythms and quirks. Alex made her laugh with his dry humor, and Emma found herself opening up to him in ways she never had with anyone except Rachel. But Emma hadn't introduced him to Lily yet. That felt like a line she wasn't ready to cross, a level of seriousness that both thrilled and terrified her. Then, 3 weeks after their first date, everything changed. Emma arrived at work to find Mr. Morrison sitting in his office, his head in his hands. His daughter, who managed the books, was with him, and both looked devastated. "What's wrong?" Emma asked, fear clenching her stomach. "I'm going to have to close the bakery," Mr. Morrison said, his voice rough with emotion. "The building owner is selling, and the new buyer wants to tear it down and put up condos. I can't afford to move to a new location, and even if I could, there's nowhere available in our price range downtown." Emma felt the floor drop out from under her. Morrison's wasn't just her job. It was her dream. She'd learned everything here, had planned to save enough money to eventually buy the business from Mr. Morrison when he retired. When? She asked faintly. After Christmas. He's giving us until the new year. Emma made it through her shift on autopilot, the reality of unemployment settling over her like a heavy blanket. She was supposed to meet Alex for coffee after work, but she called and canceled, unable to face him while she was falling apart. But Alex showed up at her apartment that evening anyway, takeout in hand. "Rachel told me what happened," he said when Emma opened the door, her eyes red from crying. "I thought you might need a friend." Emma let him in, too tired to protest. Lily was already in bed, and Emma and Alex sat on her worn couch, eating Chinese food and talking about the uncertain future. "I have some money saved," Emma said. "Maybe enough for 2 months of expenses if I'm really careful. I'll start applying to other places tomorrow. Someone has to be hiring." "Emma," Alex said carefully, "what if there was another option?" "What do you mean?" "What if you bought Morrison's?" Emma laughed, but it came out bitter. "With what money? I have maybe $3,000 in savings. That's not going to buy a bakery." "But what if you had an investor?" Emma turned to look at him, really look at him. "Alex, no. I can't let you do that." "Why not? This is what I do. I invest in businesses I believe in. And I believe in you, Emma. I've tasted your cinnamon rolls, and they're incredible. Morrison's has a loyal customer base and a prime location. With the right business plan, it could be really successful." "You've known me for 3 weeks," Emma protested. "That's not enough time to make this kind of decision." "I knew within 3 minutes of talking to you that you were someone special," Alex said quietly. "And this isn't charity, Emma. This would be a business investment. You'd have to create a real plan, show me the numbers, convince me it's viable. I'd expect a return on my investment." Emma wanted to say no. Every instinct told her to refuse, to not mix this fragile, beautiful thing growing between them with money and business. But then she thought about Lily, about the stability a successful bakery could provide, about finally being able to pursue her dream. "Let me think about it," she said finally. Over the next week, Emma threw herself into creating a business plan. She spent hours after her shifts running numbers, researching equipment costs and supplier contracts, mapping out a marketing strategy. Rachel helped her format it all professionally, and when Emma finally presented it to Alex, she was simultaneously proud of her work and terrified of his response. They met at his office, a sleek space on the 20th floor of a downtown high-rise. Alex read through her proposal carefully, asking thoughtful questions, pushing back on some of her assumptions, praising her creativity on others. "This is good," he said finally. "Really good. You've clearly thought through every aspect. So you'll invest." "On one condition," Alex said. "You meet Lily first." Emma blinked. "What?" "Emma, we've been dating for a month now, and I still haven't met your daughter. I understand why you've been cautious, but if we're going to move forward with this business arrangement, if we're going to continue seeing each other, I need to be part of your whole life. Not just the parts you keep separate from her." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. "I'm scared," she admitted. "What if you meet her and realize this is too much? What if she gets attached to you and then you leave?" "What if I don't?" Alex countered gently. "Emma, I can't promise you that I'll never hurt you or disappoint you. But I can promise you that I'm not going anywhere just because things get complicated or difficult. I'm all in if you'll let me be." The following Saturday, Alex came to their apartment for the first time. Emma had warned Lily that her friend was coming to visit, but she hadn't explained exactly what kind of friend Alex was. Lily was shy at first, hiding behind Emma's legs when she answered the door. But Alex had brought a gift, carefully chosen. A book about constellations, with beautiful illustrations and fun facts about each star formation. "Your mom told me you like space," Alex said, crouching down to Lily's level. "I thought you might like this." Lily's eyes went wide as she took the book, and just like that, the ice was broken. Within an hour, she was chattering away to Alex about her favorite planets, showing him her drawings of rocket ships, asking him endless questions. "Did you know that Jupiter has 79 moons?" Lily asked, bouncing on the couch beside Alex. "I did not know that," Alex said seriously, giving her his full attention. "That's incredible." Emma watched from the kitchen, her heart full. Alex was patient with Lily, listening to her with genuine interest, not talking down to her or treating her like an inconvenience. When Lily showed him her room, Emma followed, watching as Alex admired Lily's collection of space posters and the mobile of the solar system hanging from her ceiling. "This is amazing, Lily," Alex said. "You've really learned a lot about space. Mommy says that if I keep studying hard, I can be anything I want to be," Lily said. "Even an astronaut." "Your mom is absolutely right," Alex said, glancing at Emma with a look that made her heart skip. They ordered pizza for dinner, and Alex stayed to help Emma put Lily to bed. Lily insisted that Alex read her the new constellation book, and Emma stood in the doorway, watching as Alex carefully pronounced each star name, pointing to the illustrations. "Alex," Lily said sleepily as he was closing the book. "Yes. Are you my mommy's boyfriend?" Alex glanced at Emma, a question in his eyes. Emma nodded slightly. "I'd like to be," Alex said honestly. "If that's okay with you." Lily considered this seriously. "Do you like my mommy?" "I like her very much. And you won't make her sad." "I'm going to do my very best not to," Alex promised. "Okay then," Lily said, satisfied. "Will you come back and visit again?" "As often as your mom will let me." After Lily was asleep, Emma and Alex sat on her small balcony, wrapped in blankets against the December cold. "She's wonderful," Alex said. "You've done an incredible job raising her." "Thank you for being so good with her," Emma said. "For taking her seriously." "How could I not? She's a remarkable kid." Alex paused. "Emma, I meant what I said in there. About wanting to be your boyfriend. About doing my best not to hurt you. I know we haven't known each other very long, but I've never felt this way about anyone before." "I feel it too," Emma admitted. "It's terrifying." "Then let's be terrified together," Alex said, and he kissed her softly. The deal to buy Morrison's bakery moved forward quickly. Alex's lawyers drew up the paperwork, creating a structure where Emma would own 60% and Alex would own 40% as the primary investor. He'd provided the capital to buy the business and make necessary upgrades, but the day-to-day operations would be entirely Emma's responsibility. Mr. Morrison was thrilled to sell to someone who loved the bakery as much as he did, and he agreed to stay on for a few months to help with the transition. Emma gave the bakery a new name, Lily's Bakery, named after her daughter and the lily flowers that had been her mother's favorite. The renovations took most of December. Alex was there almost every day, not interfering but available if Emma needed advice or just wanted to talk through decisions. She watched him charm the contractors, negotiate better prices on equipment, and brainstorm marketing ideas. But he was also content to grab her a coffee when she was overwhelmed, or to pick up Lily from school when Emma couldn't get away. Christmas Eve arrived with the bakery still not quite finished, but Emma had never been happier. She and Lily spent the day with Alex at his home, a beautiful house in the suburbs that was decorated with just enough Christmas cheer to feel festive without being overwhelming. "This is for you," Alex said, handing Lily a large wrapped box after dinner. Lily tore into it with 7-year-old enthusiasm, then froze when she saw what was inside. It was a telescope, a real one, much nicer than anything Emma could have afforded. "Alex," Emma started, but he shook his head. "Before you say anything, this is from both of us. I provided the funds, but you picked it out. I checked your search history on my laptop, remember? The one you borrowed to research bakery equipment? You'd been looking at telescopes. This seemed like the right 1-inch. Emma felt tears sliding down her cheeks as Lily threw her arms around Alex's neck, thanking him profusely. Later, after Lily had fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted from excitement, Emma and Alex stood by his Christmas tree, watching the lights twinkle. "I have something for you too," Alex said, pulling out a small box. Emma's heart jumped. The box was too big to be a ring, but still. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a small pendant, a single star. "For my star," Alex said softly. "The one who's been guiding me to where I'm supposed to be." "It's beautiful," Emma whispered. "Alex, I don't have anything nearly as nice for you." "You've already given me everything," Alex said. "You've given me a chance. You've let me into your life, into Lily's life. You've shown me what it means to be brave, to build something meaningful out of nothing. That's worth more than anything money could buy." Emma kissed him then, deep and meaningful, trying to pour all her feelings into it. "I love you," she said when they finally broke apart. "I think I've loved you since that first night, when you asked about Lily like she was a gift instead of a burden." "She is a gift," Alex said. "And so are you. I love you, Emma. Both of you." 6 months later, Lily's bakery was thriving. Emma had hired 3 employees, including one of the women from the Christmas blind date event who had seemed kind. The bakery had been featured in the local paper, and there was often a line out the door for Emma's signature cinnamon rolls and creative pastries. Alex had cut back his hours at the venture capital firm, spending more time helping Emma with the business side of the bakery and more time with Lily. On a warm June evening, the 3 of them were at the park near Emma's apartment, watching Lily play on the swings with other children from her school. "I found a house," Alex said casually, too casually. Emma turned to look at him. "You're moving." "Potentially. It's closer to the bakery, actually. About 10 minutes away. For bedrooms, nice backyard, good school district." He paused. "I was hoping you and Lily might come look at it with me. See what you think." Emma's heart began to race. "Alex, what are you saying?" "I'm saying that I love you, that I love Lily, that I want to build a life with both of you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I know we haven't been together that long by conventional standards. But when you know, you know. And I know that you're it for me, Emma. You and Lily both." He opened the box to reveal a simple but beautiful diamond ring, the stone catching the late afternoon sunlight. "I'm not asking you to say yes right now," Alex continued. "I know you need to think about Lily, about what's best for her. But I wanted you to know that I'm serious about this, about us. I want to marry you, Emma. I want to adopt Lily if you'll let me, if she wants that. I want to be a family." Emma felt tears streaming down her face. 6 months ago, she'd been sitting in that hotel ballroom, feeling rejected and invisible, convinced that happiness wasn't in the cards for a single mom working paycheck to paycheck. And now here she was, with a thriving business, a man who loved her daughter as much as he loved her, and a future that looked brighter than she'd ever imagined possible. "Yes," she said, laughing through her tears. "Yes, I'll marry you. But we should probably ask Lily what she thinks too." They called Lily over, and she came running, her cheeks flushed from playing. "Sweetheart, Alex has something he wants to ask you," Emma said, crouching down to Lily's level. Alex knelt beside them. "Lily, I love your mom very much, and I love you too. I'd like to marry your mom and become part of your family officially. How would you feel about that?" Lily looked between them, her expression serious in the way only a 7-year-old considering something important could be. "Would you be my dad then?" "I'd like to be if you want me to be," Alex said carefully. "Your biological father will always be your father, but I'd be honored to be your dad, to be there for you every day." Lily threw her arms around Alex's neck. "I want that. Can I call you Dad?" "Nothing would make me happier," Alex said, his voice thick with emotion. Emma watched them embrace, her heart so full it felt like it might burst. She thought about that Christmas night, about how she'd almost left the blind date event before even trying. She thought about all the rejections she'd endured, all the men who had made her feel small for being a single mother. And she thought about how one person, the right person, had seen her daughter not as a burden but as a blessing. Later that night, after Lily was asleep and Emma and Alex were sitting on her balcony like they had so many times before, Emma looked at the ring on her finger, still not quite believing it was real. "I need to tell you something," she said quietly. "When I met you that night, I'd convinced myself it was my last attempt, that if it didn't work out, I'd just accept that it was going to be me and Lily against the world forever. I'd almost made peace with being alone. You were never alone, Alex said. You had Lily, you had Rachel. You had yourself and Emma. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met. But I wanted more, Emma admitted. I wanted someone to share things with. I wanted Lily to have a father figure. And I felt so guilty for wanting those things. Like I was being selfish or ungrateful for what I had. Wanting companionship, wanting love, wanting a partner to share your life with. That's not selfish. That's human. Alex took her hand. And Emma, you gave me something too. Before I met you, I was just going through the motions. Work, business meetings, social obligations I didn't care about. I had money and success, but I didn't have purpose. You and Lily gave me that. The wedding was small and perfect, held in the bakery on a Sunday when they were closed. Rachel was the maid of honor, and Sophie, Alex's sister, flew in to be a bridesmaid. Mr. Morrison walked Emma down the makeshift aisle between the display cases, and Lily was the flower girl, taking her job very seriously. Alex's father attended, a distinguished older man who Emma had been nervous to meet. But he'd pulled her aside during the reception and said, I haven't seen my son this happy since before his mother died. Thank you for giving him that. Thank you for giving him a family. Emma and Alex bought the house he'd found, and moving day was chaotic but joyful. Lily picked out paint colors for her new room. A deep purple she insisted would make her feel like she was sleeping in space. The backyard became home to a garden where Emma grew herbs for the bakery, and a small observatory where they set up Lily's telescope. The bakery continued to grow. Emma expanded the menu, adding sandwiches and soups for lunch, and the place became a community hub. She hired more staff, including 2 teenagers from the local youth program, giving them the same chance Mr. Morrison had given her years ago. Alex's investment paid off both financially and personally. He found himself more involved in the day-to-day operations than he'd initially planned. But he loved it. He loved working alongside Emma, loved being part of something tangible and real. He scaled back his venture capital work even further, focusing on a few select investments and spending more time as a family. One evening, about a year after the wedding, Emma was closing up the bakery when she found Alex in the kitchen, looking at something on his phone with an odd expression. What's wrong? She asked. Nothing's wrong, Alex said slowly. But I just got an email. There's a pastry competition in Paris next month. International bakers competing for a chance to apprentice at one of the top patisseries in France. Someone nominated Lily's bakery. Emma's mouth fell open. What? Who would nominate us? According to this, Mr. Morrison did. Before he retired last month, he submitted an application on your behalf. Emma sank into a chair, overwhelmed. Paris. A competition against international bakers. The opportunity to learn from masters of the craft. It was everything she dreamed about but never thought she'd have the chance to pursue. I can't go, she said immediately. I can't leave the bakery for that long, and I can't leave Lily. What if you could? Alex said, coming to sit beside her. Emma, this is an incredible opportunity. We have great staff here who can manage things for a week. And Lily and I will come with you. We'll make it a family trip. She's been learning French in school. This would be amazing for her. But the cost is not an issue, Alex said firmly. Emma, you've worked so hard. You've built something amazing here. You deserve this chance. Let me help make it happen. Paris was magical. Lily was beside herself with excitement, practicing her French phrases with everyone they met. Alex played tourist guide, taking them to the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre on days when Emma wasn't competing. The competition itself was intense. Emma was up against bakers from around the world, each one incredibly talented. But she held her own, her technical skills solid and her creativity shining through. She didn't win the grand prize, but she placed third, and she caught the attention of several renowned pastry chefs who gave her their contact information and invited her to visit their establishments. On their last night in Paris, after Lily had fallen asleep in the hotel room, Emma and Alex stood on their balcony overlooking the city lights. Thank you, Emma said, for all of this. for believing in me even when I didn't believe in myself. You always had it in you, Alex said. I just helped clear some of the obstacles. It's more than that, Emma insisted. Alex, when I met you, I was so sure I knew how my life would go. I'd work at the bakery, raise Lily the best I could, and maybe, if I was lucky, scrape together enough for a down payment on a tiny house by the time I was 50. I never imagined any of this. Do you remember what you said to me that first night? Alex asked. After I gave you the rose and asked if you'd stay for the cocktail mixer. Emma tried to recall. I said okay. Before that, you said the evening hadn't been your best. And I said I wanted to try to improve it. Alex turned to face her, taking both her hands in his. Emma, every day since then, you've improved my life. You've made it richer and fuller and more meaningful than I ever thought possible. I used to measure success in dollars and deals closed. Now I measure it in Lily's laughter, in the customers who come into the bakery and leave smiling, in moments like this with you. I love you, Emma said simply. I love the life we've built together. 2 years later, Emma was in the kitchen of Lily's bakery, training her newest assistant, when Lily burst through the door, still in her school uniform. Mom, Dad, I got in. I got into the advanced science program. Emma whooped with joy, pulling her daughter into a tight hug. At 9 years old, Lily was reading at a high school level and had already decided she wanted to study astrophysics in college. The advanced science program at her school would give her access to better resources and mentorship. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart, Emma said. Where's Dad? Lily asked, looking around. The word still made Emma's heart swell. Alex had officially adopted Lily 6 months after the wedding, and Lily had started calling him Dad naturally, without anyone prompting her. Her birth certificate now listed Alexander James Morrison as her father, and Lily had gleefully informed everyone that she had the coolest last name ever. He's at a meeting, Emma said, but he should be home for dinner. We'll celebrate then. That evening, the three of them went to Mama Rosa's, the restaurant where Emma and Alex had their first date. It had become a family tradition to go there for special occasions. Over plates of pasta and breadsticks, Lily chattered about the science program, about the field trips they'd take and the experiments she'd get to do. We're going to visit the Space Center next semester, she said excitedly. And there's a summer camp at the observatory upstate. Can I go, please? We'll look into it, Alex said with a smile. If it's what you want to do, we'll make it happen. Later, Emma reflected on how much had changed since that Christmas blind date. She owned a successful business that employed 12 people. She lived in a beautiful home with a husband who adored her and a daughter who was thriving. She'd been featured in cooking magazines and had been invited to judge at local baking competitions. But more than any of that, she was happy. Truly, deeply happy in a way she'd never thought possible during those lean years when she was struggling alone. One Saturday morning, Emma was at the farmer's market that the bakery participated in every week, selling fresh pastries and bread, when she saw a familiar face. It was the woman in the gold dress from the blind date event, Victoria. She looked as polished as ever, but there was something brittle in her expression. Emma, Victoria said, her tone careful. I heard your bakery is doing well. It is, thank you, Emma replied politely. And you married Alex, it wasn't quite a question. I did. Almost 3 years ago now. Victoria was quiet for a moment. I owe you an apology. I was awful to you that night. I was jealous and petty, and I looked down on you because you weren't from my social circle. That was wrong of me. Emma was surprised by the genuine remorse in Victoria's voice. Thank you for saying that. For what it's worth, Victoria continued, I've spent the last few years realizing that all the things I thought mattered, the designer clothes and the right connections and the impressive resume, they don't actually make you happy. You had that figured out already. You knew what was important. I didn't have it figured out, Emma said honestly. I was terrified that night. I felt like everyone was rejecting me because I wasn't good enough. But I got lucky. I met someone who saw past all the surface stuff. You made your own luck, Victoria said. You took a chance on him even though it scared you. That's brave. After Victoria left, Emma thought about that night again, about all the men who had rejected her, about how devastated she'd felt. But every rejection had led her to Alex. Every closed door had pushed her toward the one that was meant to open. That night, after Lily was in bed, Emma and Alex sat in their backyard, wrapped in blankets against the autumn chill, looking up at the stars through Lily's telescope. Do you ever wonder what your life would have been like if you hadn't come to that blind date event? Emma asked. All the time, Alex admitted. I almost didn't go. I thought it would be a waste of time, that I was too busy, that Sophie was overreacting about my work-life balance. What changed your mind? Sophie said something to me. She said, Alex, you can have all the money in the world, but if you have no one to share it with, what's the point? She was right. I was successful by every external measure, but I was lonely. I was lonely too, Emma said quietly. Even with Lily, even with Rachel. I wanted a partner. I wanted someone to share the burden and the joy. You don't have to be lonely anymore, Alex said, pulling her closer. Neither of us do. Emma looked up at the stars, at the vast universe Lily loved so much, and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. Her life hadn't turned out anything like she'd planned. It was better. It was filled with love and purpose and possibility. The bakery continued to thrive. Emma opened a second location in the suburbs, closer to their house, and began offering baking classes on Sunday afternoons. She loved teaching, loved watching people learn the same skills that had saved her. Alex continued to scale back his work, eventually stepping away from the venture capital firm entirely to focus on managing the business side of Emma's growing bakery empire and being present for Lily's activities. He coached her soccer team, attended every science fair, and never missed a parent-teacher conference. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Alex surprised Emma with a trip back to the Grand Pine Hotel, where they'd first met. They had dinner in the same ballroom where the blind date event had been held, now transformed into an elegant restaurant. Do you remember sitting at table 7? Alex asked, gesturing vaguely to where the speed dating tables would have been. How could I forget? I was convinced I was going to leave without a single rose. I walked in and saw you sitting there, Alex said, and I thought, there she is. I didn't even know your name yet, but something in me recognized something in you. That's very romantic, Emma teased. But I think you're revising history a bit. I'm not, Alex insisted. Ask Sophie. I called her from the parking lot after I met you and told her I just met the woman I was going to marry. Emma felt tears prick her eyes. You did not. I did. She didn't believe me either. She said I was being dramatic. But I knew. They danced to the same music that had been playing that Christmas night, and Emma rested her head on Alex's shoulder, thinking about the scared single mom she'd been, about the woman who almost hadn't taken a chance. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For seeing me, for seeing Lily, for not running away when things got complicated or hard, for loving us. Emma, Alex said, pulling back to look at her. Loving you and Lily has been the easiest thing I've ever done. It's never felt like work or obligation. It's felt like coming home. Years passed. Lily grew from a little girl obsessed with space into a teenager who was already being recruited by top universities for their science programs. Emma's bakery expanded to 5 locations, and she published a cookbook that became a regional bestseller. Alex started a foundation that provided small business loans to single parents trying to start their own companies, helping others the way he'd helped Emma. On Lily's 16th birthday, as they celebrated with friends and family in their backyard, Emma stood at the kitchen window, watching the scene outside. Lily was laughing with her friends, Alex was manning the grill, and Rachel's kids were running around with sparklers. Rachel came to stand beside her, following her gaze. You did good, Mama, Rachel said, bumping Emma's shoulder affectionately. We did good, Emma corrected. I couldn't have done any of this without you. You would have found a way. You always do. Rachel paused. Do you ever think about that night? The blind date event? Sometimes, Emma admitted. Usually when I'm having a hard day or feeling overwhelmed. I think about how close I came to not going, to giving up on the possibility of finding someone. What made you stay? Emma thought about it, really thought about it. Lily, I stayed because I wanted to be able to tell her that I tried, that I didn't let fear win. I wanted to model bravery for her, even though I was terrified. And you met Alex. And I met Alex, Emma agreed. But you know what? Even if I hadn't met him that night, even if it had ended the way it seemed like it would, with me going home alone, it still would have been worth it. Because I did the scary thing. I put myself out there. That matters. Rachel smiled. Look at you, getting all wise in your old age. Emma laughed. I'm 38, not ancient. Ancient enough to have a teenager, Rachel teased. Outside, Alex looked up and caught Emma's eye through the window. He smiled, that same smile that had disarmed her 5 years ago, and mouthed, I love you. Emma smiled back, mouthing the same words in return. That night, long after the party had ended and the house was quiet, Emma lay in bed next to Alex, listening to his steady breathing. She thought about the scared single mom she'd been, sitting in that hotel ballroom, feeling rejected and invisible. She thought about all the ways her life had changed, had opened up in directions she never could have imagined. But more than anything, she thought about how none of it would have happened if she hadn't taken that chance. If she hadn't walked into that hotel despite her fears. If she hadn't agreed to one more date at table 7. Sometimes Emma realized the best things in life come from the moments when we're brave enough to try, even when we're certain we'll fail. Sometimes the closed doors are blessings, pushing us toward the one door that was meant to open all along. And sometimes, on a snowy Christmas night when you feel rejected by everyone, the right person walks in late and sees you exactly as you are. A single mother with a beautiful daughter and big dreams and so much love to give, and recognizes that as the gift it is. Emma reached over and took Alex's hand. Even in sleep. Tomorrow she'd wake up early to prep for the morning rush at the bakery. She'd help Lily with her college applications and attend Alex's foundation event in the evening. Her life was full and busy and sometimes overwhelming, but it was hers. She'd built it from nothing, with courage and determination and the help of people who loved her. And every single day, she was grateful for the chance she'd taken, for the fear she'd pushed through, for the moment when she decided to stay at table 7 instead of running away. Because that moment, that single decision to be brave, had led to everything. To love, to family, to success, to happiness. To a life beyond anything she'd dared to dream. Sitting in that parking lot, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying to find the courage to walk through the door. She'd found the courage. She'd walked through the door. And her whole life had been waiting on the other side.